And that's a wrap. We're on. This is Angora Poets, and you're here with us. And if you're not here with us, you have the right to listen to us on YouTube. And if that ain't satisfying enough, you can see all our pretty faces on the Angora Poets website, where we be looking good, yo. Tell you what. And then we're on a Facebook page too. If you got nothing better to do but to scribble around on that piece of shit on Facebook. So here we are, live in the squares tonight. Different voices, different styles, different places in the world. So that's why we call ourselves the World Cafe. And so I'm looking forward to tonight. And we got people from various places, as I mentioned. And it would do me right to say, does anyone feel like coming out of the chute and being our first poet, our first reader?
You know what, Mo? I think I rarely go first, man. So I'll jump in and go first.
Well, there you go. You see that? You call up and you get a volunteer. We're in the buddy system here. All right. Okay, so Christopher Sims, we're going to turn this over to you with pleasure.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, let me. I'm getting organized. Yeah, let me see what I got up in here. I'll just start off with this one. I was just looking at this piece. I took my little poem "Still I Rise" and adapted it for Black men because I felt like Black men needed a "Still I Rise" poem. Maybe let me look at the date on this. I just know the date. Yeah, I took it and adapted it and made it Black man focused. So here it is. Still I rise for Black men. You may scribe me down in history with angry falsehood and lies. You may drag me in the mud and dirt, but still like air, I rise, I rise, I rise, I rise. Does my strength and pride upset you? Why do you hate and deny my every try? Because I walk like I've got lions strolling at my side. Just like planets and stars with the certainty of light, just like people with passion. Indeed, I'll rise. I'll rise. Do you want to see me beaten, sunken head and saddened eyes, shoulders facing down with hope denied, weakened by every untruth, every lie? Does my humanity offend you? Don't you take it way too hard? Because I laugh like I own Saturn, Venus, Neptune, and Mars. You may shoot me with your guns, you may enslave me in your jails, you may make my mother cry, but still like wind, I will rise, I will rise, I will rise. Does my intelligence upset you? This should not be something new, that I move and groove as I handle the things that I do. Out of the coals of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in wretchedness, I rise. I am the Nile River, moving and wide. Meandering and weaving, I am also the tide. Leaving behind days of tragedy and horror, I rise into a future that's hopeful and clear. I rise, bearing the gift ancestors gave. I am living proof the love manifests of former slaves. I rise, I rise, I rise as a Black man. I rise.
Chris, is that your phone?
It is, man. I just hung it up.
Okay, because I was trying to I'm muting and unmuting everybody, trying to figure out whose phone is it. It can't be Chris.
He couldn't hear
it.
I would love to hear it again without the phone.
Yeah,
I found it distracting.
Yeah, somebody was calling me on Messenger.
Well, see, that's what it's like to have the privilege of a fan club following. They find out he's online, they're calling him up already. Okay, all right, Christopher Sims fans, hold on. He'll be available after he reads.
Call him back. No.
Oh, here, turn them off, would you, Chris?
Yeah, I just cut it off. I'm gonna cut my phone off.
Okay.
Here, point blank. There it goes.
All right. Well, all right. So give it another run. I rise.
Here it is. Thank y'all for your patience. Still I rise for Black men. You may scribe me down in history with angry falsehood and lies. You may drag me in the mud and dirt, but still like air, I rise. Does my strength and pride upset you? Why do you hate and deny my every try? Because I walk like I've got lions strolling with me at my side. Just like planets and stars with the certainty of light. Just like people with passion. Indeed, I'll rise. Do you want to see me beaten, sunken head and saddened eyes, shoulders facing down with hope denied, weakened by every untruth, every lie? Does my humanity offend you? Don't you take it way too hard? Because I laugh like I own Saturn, Venus, Neptune, and Mars. You may shoot me with your guns. You may enslave me in your jails. You may make my mother cry, but still, like winds, I will rise. Does my intent set you? It should not be something new, that I move and groove as I handle the things I do. Out of the chronicle of history, shame, I rise. Up from a past that's righteousness, I rise. I am the Nile River, moving and wide. Meandering and weaving, I am also the tide. Leaving behind days of tragedy and humor, I rise into a future that's hopeful and clear. I rise. Bearing the gifts my ancestors gave, I am living proof and love manifested of former slaves. I rise, rise, and I rise. That's it.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you could rise to the occasion and read another one.
Sure. I'll jump back to this piece.
Christopher always does.
Thank you. Appreciate it,
I'm going to ask Roxanne to follow you. I'm going to ask you to be next, Roxanne, okay? Okay. Back to you, Chris.
All right. I think I got these. Oh, there it is. Stuff in order. This is Minneapolis is Burning. I think most of you have heard this, or some of you have heard this. Minneapolis is burning. For justice, we Black people are yearning. The hate here in the U.S. we're confronting, discerning. I hope you won't stop learning why Minneapolis is burning. Heads are turning, the smoke is increasing, the pain is seething. Start believing that Minneapolis is burning. Minneapolis is on fire, the activists won't retire. The situation is dire. The events that transpire took life. Minneapolis is burning tonight. The people are meeting, planning, marching, targeting the nonstop injustice in the city. Minneapolis is burning because of endemic hatred, bigotry. The citizens are soldiers in an army against racism. Just like their forefathers and foremothers, they'll fight back at the system. Can't you feel the heat? Can't you see the flames? They're doing it in George Floyd's name. Let the flames burn, let the buildings fall, let racist practices dissolve into the blazing infernos. Hate has to go. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. Are you ready to stand near the heat, the heat, the heat? Rightfully so, the people, the soldiers, the fighters are earning camera time. Minneapolis is burning. Some might think it's about time. It's about time. It's about time. We're tired of losing lives. Why do we have to continue to die, to die, to die? To all Black people and our accomplices, allies, this is concerning. Burning, burning, burning. Minneapolis is burning. All right, that's that one.
All right. So
Thanks.
put Minneapolis on the legacy map. You got a third one? The third is a charm, Chris.
Yeah, I got a third one. Yeah. And I've actually done some social justice, anti-racism work physically in Minneapolis, even way before what happened with George Floyd took place. So I have some proximity with Minneapolis in that regard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell this story again. We would drive through Love's Park at dark. Police would be parked on the side of the road, waiting for us young Black people to leave, to head south, back home. It was a constant, leaving place every week. The boys in blue would greet us with police lights. It was a fight, all the sought to enjoy being together, dancing, romance, air. But they never cared, but they just stared down our license plates to single us out. Without a doubt, they were profiling us, organizing their forces against us, waiting to nail, then jail us. Never was it ever discussed that we were being profiled, the police were being hostile, that we were being terrorized. Multiple times our rights were denied, our patience, our very existence was tried. The most ironic thing is that Love's Park's motto is a city with a heart. But back then, they turned profiling into an art. We needed the NAACP back then, myself and my countless friends who had encounters with the Love's Park Police Department again and again and again and again and again. Cruising through there with my twin brother after all these years, recently, these terrorizing memories come to us repeatedly. Repeatedly, we revisit those times that are abusive, stressful to the mind. Someday, sometime, here a revolution will be sparked, and we all will be freed from those detrimental experiences we had in Love's Park.
Okay.
All right, that's my 3.
Well, 3. That was good. That was good, Chris. Thank you. Okay, so I was asking if Roxanne would follow you. Hello, Roxanne. There you are. I see that smile.
I'm here. They're gonna be little pieces of this book that I'm writing. So they're not, it's not poems,
Uh-huh.
but they're short. But you'll tell me if it's like too long or something like that.
Oh, I love that job. I just love that job. Send all hate mail to Mo Singer.
Oh, no.
Okay, Roxanne, let's hear it.
Okay. She was falling, compact, head tucked down with arms hugging knees, pressed tight beneath her chin, plunging into abyss, aware only of velocity, the howling of the wind. Then the lotus opened and everything slowed. What had been clenched fists became open palms, fingers outstretched like fluttering fans. Her arms out at her sides, like wings as her feet kicked out behind her. She instinctively arched her back, her belly bound toward earth, and with open eyes, she became a bird. As the flowering red silks of her kimono billowed across her back and tickled her arms, she became a kite, soaring on a breeze. And as her third eye opened, she closed her still tearing eyes and breathed in the clarifying air of sky. And as her physical eyes blinked open and her still burning lungs exhaled, she dared to look down at what awaited. The light at first was blinding. All she saw was glowing white light. And then emerald greens and sparkling blues came into focus as flocks of birds glided by, her breath slowing and deepening as she became more aware with every inhale, every exhale of the living beauty of the world below her. And she thought, this is what it means to be 3. This is bliss. And she wondered why she hadn't seen it before, then thought maybe she had lifetimes ago, but just simply had forgotten as glimpses of all the happy moments in her life materialized and vanished one by one. I can't hear you, Mo.
Well, that's what my mother used to say.
Not too long. Not too long.
I was just gonna say, is that part of a larger story to someone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's hear your next sketch. Yeah.
Okay, so it continues. All right, let me get the next
Oh,
one up.
okay. All right.
The next little piece. This is next. Oh my God. Hang on. Sorry about that. All right. Something had distracted the contemplation of his surroundings, abruptly thrusting him from his musings, causing him to blink away the imagined invocation of nirvana, silence his destination's calling. Was it a sound? He stopped and leaned upon his staff, and with a hand cupped behind an ear, shut his eyes. At first he heard only the gentle splashing of waves, the crying of cranes passing overhead, the rustle of reeds, the purr of grasses, the stridulating chirp of a grasshopper, the droning buzz of a fly. Then something in the distance, something high above the coastline, something that seemed to be coming closer, interrupted nature's cadence. He thought he heard his name, his old name, a pet name, names he had put aside when he had entered the monkhood. He opened his eyes and laid his staff down so he could cover both ears, extending his upward gaze by slowly turning, still crouched. Then he saw the undeniable flutter of red silk descending, some uncalculated distance away, grabbed his staff and ran, the name in his head, her name, escaping his lips louder and louder, his tongue, his throat screaming, trying in vain to outshout his racing mind, outshout his beating heart, exceeding his panting lungs, overtake his screaming muscles. He mouthed syllables, entreating her to wait, slow down, somehow delay, for he was coming, and if necessary, he would fly. And then his feet left the ground, climbing columns of air, as if carried by the breath of wind, he flew. His mind had emptied, his lungs took in air, his heart was slowing, his muscles relaxed as he continued to chant her name over and over like a mantra, this name so long unuttered, stowed away in the recesses of his memory with desires he had determined best left dormant, swathed and swathed layer upon layer like an unwelcome visitor lodged deep beneath his hard shell exterior. This lustrous pearl exposed and gleaming now transported him. And as he chanted, his third eye opened and all became wind and void.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's like a new age romance novel. All
It
right.
is.
Okay. Going into the romance goes into the fourth dimension. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got a third sketch for us?
Yep, I got a third
Okay.
sketch.
Okay. Now, while you're looking for that, I want to say hi to our friends, Cosmic, and do you want to call yourself Palm Rouge tonight, Mom? Unmute. Unmute.
Is that
Uh-oh.
Palm Jorge?
There you go.
Palm and Cosmic, yes.
Okay, Palm and Cosmic, welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're getting ready to hear Roxanne Hoffman do her third sketch of the night from the New Age romance.
Seated beside her, he removed his bamboo flute from his satchel and settled it down, still wrapped in its soft protective cloth upon the ground. He started to unwrap it slowly, rolling it out with extra care as to not let the bamboo gallop off the felt and career across the rocky landscape. After staring at the flute at rest upon its cloth for some marked but indeterminate period of time, he raised the instrument to his lips and blew out an incantation. A series of long shrills emerged, a test of functionality and perhaps an entreaty to call upon supportive spirits. Satisfied, he tapped the flute against his thigh before gently inserting it through the small O of her bastilled mouth, and with great precision down her swan-like throat and into the nearly collapsed chest cavity. And once again he blew as if to play his flute, but this time more softly. Then he laid an ear to her chest to listen for a response. Twice more he blew and listened. Finally, he heard the flute play without his assistance, and then withdrawing another parcel from his satchel, one containing his 24-karat gold-plated acupuncture needles, he set about his work of repair.
Okay, right. Now, what's your aim for this? Is this going to be a cover-to-cover novel, or what?
Yeah, it's going to be a cover-to-cover novel.
Okay, all right. Good. Okay, so next, who joined us earlier tonight and we haven't heard from yet? I want to hear Jane. Spoken word Jane. How you doing, Jane?
I'm doing great. How y'all doing? It's nice to see you. It's nice to hear everybody's word. Thank you for having me.
All right, so we're all ears, ready to hear what you want to present.
All right. Well, I would start off with, because you mentioned my wonderful missed friend, Steve Delachinsky.
Okay. And by the way, I should be doing this more pragmatically. After that, I would like to ask Rhett to read after Jane. Okay, I'm out of here. Okay, Jane.
So Steve Delachinsky used to always ask me, why don't you write something happy? which coming from Steve was a trip, but so this is a piece I wrote when I met Cecil Taylor, and we've been wonderful friends ever since then till he passed. And so I'm going to dedicate this to Steve because it's a happy poem, and it's called Dragonflies. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Dragonflies dancing dreams of forgotten ancestors, painting Manhattan skies with brick and glass and neon cells. Abstractions in captured flight past skyscrapers that flash blue and red, hot spotlight beams and piano strings, bass, 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 come and drum, sway the trees, lift the leaves, pass through me on their journey to foreverness. As exquisitely as dragons fly, open your eyes. I spent the day with neon dragonflies, playing tag with the sun and the sky, serenaded by the distance, invited to the dance. I spent the day with neon dragonflies, put me in a trance. Come sit at the feet of the maestro as he spins his tales of sleepless nights and stranger sights, past mysteries to ponder. In a sweet, soft voice, he will lull you in, then morphine into thunder. Bottles of bubbles fill time in a glass, flowing verve into memories that smile. Whispered words breathe life to a past, chain-smoking Indians all the while. There's the evildoer who'll make you cry, and the dragon lady with all her lies, and mean devils you just had to love, and music dreamt from a satin glove of starlit nights, and on-stage fights, and lovely ones that broke his heart, and perfect days that fell apart, and coded names that you never knew, and oh, so many Winnie the Pooh, Pooh, Pooh. Whispered words breathe life to a past. So come sit at the feet of the maestro. Take a ride on this comet in flight, and all will be heard, and all will be cherished, and all will surrender to Cecil Taylor's night. From my friend, Steve Delachinsky.
I think, yeah, that's a nice one.
Thank
That's some kind of new take on cruising for burgers, huh?
you.
Take a ride. All right. Okay.
Which the maestro was definitely a comet in flight.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that. Okay, so what do you want to follow that with?
So I will follow that with a piece that I wrote many, many, many years ago when I was a teenager. And as with a lot of my poems, as I perform them, I change them, I get the cadence different, whatever. So this piece is called Mr. America, and it's from my latest book, which is pretty much a protest of all what the fuck mankind is doing, and it's called Word Against the Machine. So this piece is from that book, and it's called Mr. America. What's up, Mr. America? My kind still ain't up and died, and I be waving my freak flag high. Have you ever been experienced, or will you truly just up and die? lost in the twilight zone, lost in the dark zone, lost in some unknown zone. Sliding down this street, it's like I've been here before. I didn't want to be here from last time. Do you remember last time? This could be the last time. Running from the repo man, my thoughts he cannot have. I'm hiding from the soul stealers that beckon to me from shadows of mine, and time keeps on ticking. And time keeps on ticking. Into the past, or is it the future? Is this the plan of man to keep us in the state of confusion, or a murder of the mind to perpetrate the illusion? You ain't wasting time, you're killing time. Peace.
Yeah, wasted time is, in a
Killing
sense,
it.
involuntary manslaughter. Yeah,
Word.
yeah. Okay, how about Three's a Charm, Jane?
Three's a Charm. This is a piece I wrote after 9/11. It's very personal to me. It's called Anthrax and Bombs. Everybody's worried about anthrax and bombs, and terrorists that fly planes into buildings. And weapons of mass destruction are an unseen scare, the frightening reality of a chemical war nightmare, the dreaded threat that can harm us all. When the bombs hit, we are all gonna fall. But check this out. You plug it in, you spray it on, you roll it over, you dab it behind your ears, between your legs, or up your pits. You even hang those awful evergreen trees in a bag from a string on your automobile's rear view mirror. You smear on, you smell so nice. Your old fucking spice. You tidy your bowl, Lysol your coal, lemon fresh your blade, shout out your stains, flush them down the drain, and don't forget to bounce your motherfucking dryer. So yes, I know, everybody's worried about anthrax and bombs. But I'm here to tell you that it's you that I fear, all that smell you smear on daily from your toes up to your head. You're like a junkie on a fix with chemical habits that you feed, plug and spray and wash and rinse and dabbing up behind your ears, between your legs, or anywhere you feel the need. But you tell me who the terrorists be. You got your leaf blowers and SUVs, your smelly ski-doos and your leaky jet skis, and air fresheners plugged into every wall for breathing you all to death. And gadgets for every thought, all battery-powered worlds from can till can't, sucking energy from a wire that goes to what? The electric planet. Electricity, like magic, it comes from the sky. Or gods, or fairies, it just is. Don't ask why. But what are you, stupid? Just where is it you think plastic comes from? Have you ever heard of petroleum? From oil, plastic does come. And while we're on the subject of stupid, let's move right along to our beloved television. Big Brother's delivery system of nothing to see or think about, a Bergeron box that will drown your soul, steal your brain, make you old before your time, litter your mind with trash, like you litter the planet with disposable lighters and diapers and things I wouldn't even begin to know about. And while we're at it, how you gonna buy some shit, unwrap it without a blink, toss it on the ground? Have you ever heard of Mother Earth? How you gonna get her dirties for the babies you birth, you stupid motherfuckers, if you no clue? You gotta watch just what you do. You're like a junkie on a fix with chemical habits that you feed without regard to our mother. You need. So the next time you're checking out your local food mart, take a good long look in your own shopping cart. Then you tell me who the terrorists be. Peace, y'all.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me, all. This is always so much fun. It's great to see everybody from everywhere. Mo, I love your Zoom is great.
Our Zoom is great. Hey, I wanted to honk in on your poem, like buy now, right? Gun
Yeah.
sale Saturday, free ammo for the
Exactly.
kids.
Yeah, ammunition going cheap.
Right, buy now. Get more than you'll ever use. Buy now.
Or stick it in the closet.
That's it. The fear factor sends them to the store, and then brings them back home before the television set. Yeah, yeah,
Heard.
yeah. Okay, cool. All right. So, who did I? Oh, yeah. I've asked Rhett if he would come on and present to us next. So let's leave New York City and move over to Paris there and ask Rhett Masilo to present for us. Hello, Rhett.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Glad to see you all here. I've just had to reshuffle the poems I was going to read because I noticed there are some underage participants. And so I'm going to begin with a poem called Bookmakers. Just two words that may be unfamiliar to some of you. The first one is the name of my country, where I come from. It's Lesotho. And the other word is Kgotsofalang, which is the name of my brother who was killed. It's a long story. Bookmakers. One day while we were outside playing, Kgotsofalang left. And no matter how much we prayed, he was killed and reincarnated as a tree. We need to know if that's what he wanted to be. They made a casket with his pith because Lesotho traffics in the business of coffins. Some wonder why we don't make doors out of loss instead, using planks and slats from the bodies of the dead. Still others say books, by beating cadavers to a pulp, like pulled pork, flattening the remains in the sun for them to dry, till some of them finally come of age and accept a dirge on every single page. That was the first poem. I'm sorry.
One second, in all due respect, about children in this room. Yes, I've read before children who've come to jazz poetry jams in Paris had the same thing with Ricky Stevenson's. If one could just turn off the volume so the child doesn't hear. In my case, yeah, and in my case, which is not tonight, my children can hear virtually anything in poetry.
Right.
Because they're going to hear a lot worse on breaking news.
Especially on Fox.
Right, exactly.
But I picked 3 other poems, so I'll go ahead and read the ones I picked out. They might all sound a little bit morbid, but they are poems. This poem, called Janice's Poem, was written in 2011 after I got a call from a friend of mine in, I'll say Chicago, but there's a town next to Chicago where he comes from. And he told me that his wife had passed away. Her name was Janice. Janice's poem. When you get there, the horses of dawn before you, the furious wheels of drawn carts, each distance hard-won with sweated salt, the road flat between miles, tense, only hoof and sound of wheel loud above the air, proof that this is not just another dream. Who can say what's best to do for our calm? You sit like sculpted ivory among jaded colors. Something in the face you wear, hung like a mask on walls of inner rooms. Something in the sound whose echo names you. the morning of which rose into the gold of you, flaring nostrils at the world. How can we say who is to blame? Halfway into destiny, the sun lost all hope, shone into itself across the great Smokies. A slow descent home, the accurate death of the first words ever spoken. Let there be light. What do we know about the meanings of things that work against that kind of light? Thank you. And moving on to...
I appreciate that you ended that poem the way you did with a question.
I suppose, I can't really say why, but it sounded like I didn't have the answers to what my friend had just told me. What is the name of that town near Chicago where there was that huge bash in the 70s?
Ask Christopher.
I mean, where
Was it
people...
Evanston?
Sorry?
Was it Evanston, Illinois?
No, I mean...
Cicero, Illinois.
My brain is it's a little bit slow this evening, but anyway, let me move on to the last poem called Life. When at peace, young as the rest of the body, it is impossible to imagine a muscle trembling, wrecked by the increase in years, a shoulder loose every time you run for the bus, God inching nearer with each shake of your hand, though it will not be till the lungs draw dust in and your voice rasps, as in a hopeless dream, that you will understand how evil all of this is, after a ligament wanes and atrophies. And if ever the flank gives, you pray for release from terror that makes you recall past acts. And you ask your family to find the courage to bring Dr. Death to your bedside. You don't like the urine balloon tied to your waist. You never wanted to die with tubes up your nose either. Besides, is it not cruel to let somebody rot when they used to wear their body so sensual? I guess I ended that with a question too.
Or in fact, wow. Let's say about that. Wow.
Well, sorry about the morbidity of the 3 poems I read.
We're allowed to be morbid. Hey, we're allowed to be morbid, you know. Okay, well, thanks for that dose. That's a wake-up call. That's a wake-up call. But it is true. Who wants to go out with tubes? You know, who wants to?
Yeah, nobody does.
We're gonna, like this pandemic, we're gonna put you all you old people in nursing homes where you reinfect one another. Yeah, right. Okay, so wow. Okay, thank you, Rhett. Now I want to ask Dalila, did you get volume yet, Dalila? No, still no volume. Oh, we're sorry. Maybe that'll come on while we're here, Dalila. I hope so. Okay, how about you, Ron? How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks.
Oh, good, good.
Everything I do today will be from my chapbook, Pencil Sketches. It's put out by Claire Songbirds Publications, and that's the only place you can get it. It's not on Amazon, not on Barnes & Noble. But anyway.
Well, you can always put the purchase contact link up on the message box here.
Okay. First poem I'll do is Atlas. Atlas shrugged and hid behind the world he no longer had to hoist upon his mighty shoulders. He discovered that this world no longer needed nor desired his strength to keep it from falling free to doom. No, that self-absorbed world thought itself self-sufficient, and the ancient fears and hopes no longer mattered. Atlas, as such, a man without a mission, snuggled softly into his quiet masculinity and carefully, solemnly passed from this earth.
Ooh, okay. Okay. You can follow that.
This one is called Arena. It's written for an old friend of mine. Arena sizzles in time and space. Air is hot where she has been. Blonde hair conceals the dark that burns inside her eyes.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Terminale. Okay. Three's the charm, baby. Keep it
Okay.
dark.
This one is called M Part 1. It's about a certain young female poet who shall remain nameless. She dresses like a dream, walks on fire, upsets upsets apple carts, douses spring with rain. Dreary phantoms, refugees of desire and long overdue payments, these make not a dent in her limousine of letters. Hers is the word, the phrase, the sentence, the poem unbeknownst that is her.
Okay. All right. Well, that was short and sweet.
Bravo.
Okay. And so where is your press located, Ron?
Uh, this press, well, let me see. Hopefully they'll have it in here. It is located in, doesn't say.
It's a
Oh, yes, it
mystery.
is. It's in Auburn, New York.
Okay. All right. Well, like I said, for a purchase address, throw it up on the info on mine's in French. It says anyway on the little chat box if you wish to put it up
You're
with
welcome.
that. Okay. So now I would like to move over to keep it nice and subtle. Let me give you a clue. How about something that's nice and subtle, like a hot omelet thrown in your face? I'd like to introduce the judge, the Jersey judge here, Bill Strangmeyer. Come on, Bill. What you got cooking, baby?
A little bit quieter tonight. A little bit. Call this dismissal by silence. Feels like the final betrayal by life. It feels like the end of the day. The future has never seemed so slight. The ephemeral balance no longer persists. I know all the reasons, but thought us exempt from the fears of the others, cruel and aligned. But the idiot justice of sans fait pas has let others' ambitions step on our own. In another life, before this, I once died. My daughters kept my ghost held by the feet and tied to them, a torture that they didn't understand. But turned and hard, the taste of life is heavier than ghosts. The joy in love called fantasy in other eyes is in a different world from where you're forced to live. And I must seek another day the return of water's taste, the reason to believe the light of day.
Okay. All right. How about a second one there, Bill?
Okay, I'll start with a quote from Isak Dinesen, as I often do. Man reaches the highest point of lovableness at 12 to 17, to get it back in a second flowering at the age of 70 to 90. I call this believer. If all things needed come together, if we both feel that music well, There can be a countryside that's free from doubt. Our needs, if dishonored, skew the world. The music must be heard and danced, and doubt must be abandoned on the road. The world we choose must mock the law, must dance against the gnomish taint, abandon all the churchly strictures laid. The laws they use to sculpt their life are gnomically entwined with lack, restricting all that seems like youth or love. But sculptors we of our own needs will lack no music when we wish to love the youth sometimes denied in all who are alive.
All right. So you've been doing some introspection this week, huh?
Yeah, I guess you could call it that.
Well, I could call it a third poem if you have one.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, another quote from Isak Dinesen. Love with very young people is a heartless business. We drink at that age from thirst or to get drunk. It is only later in life that we occupy ourselves with the individuality of our wine. Debate Dream Cipher. When we were young, the times return, truncated memories and edited talks, wisps like the flutterings of birds, conversations carried on, interpreted and heard my way, in one or two dimensions, without well-mannered interventions, rude asides, embellishments, but always your adoring eyes or hurt. I never get it right, for centered just in me, I see but you, your role. I see your kindnesses and errors, all you did, the right and wrong, but never how I prompted or reacted, gave or took, seen through your eyes. You screaming on the road, I know not why. Was that a wound? Was that the wound that took your beauty lost now from your face? Did I give then the tenderness I feel towards you now in reverie? Were you as cruel when striking down my dreams as I now do believe? I do not see my cruelty as something in the script, as something in existence now or then. But every nuance of your eyes is still alive in every cut of knife. It isn't that I don't remember, just that I cannot remember what you felt. I could if I were prone to insult just to taste the pain, a sadist with the love. Just as in dream I see me blank, as if within a cardboard suit or a crystal ball. I know that wasn't how I lived, but why then are the memories so pale? Why do they leak through fingers curled as if a wind were shifting sand? That's it.
That's enough. Yeah, thanks. All right. And I'm looking on screen, and all of a sudden, I have seen Sarah and Inez drop off the screen. So if they can't hear me, I'll just assume you're not. Somehow you disconnected from us. And Dalila, speak. Try give it a speak again, Dalila. Oh, shit. Too bad. Okay. Well, we're ready if it starts to work. Okay, if it starts to work. Oh, okay. All right then. So now I'd like to ask Cosmic. Boy, this screen's jumping around. Okay, Sarah, you're back, and Palm is back, and Cosmic. What do you have in mind, Palm and Cosmic?
Cosmic did this week two poems, one in French and one in English.
Okay.
She was happy to read as well something, but I think she wanted to read the one in English. Oh, okay.
Well, we can hear in French as well, you know. Ça c'est bien aussi en français. Voilà. Okay, so let me introduce you all. I guess you all know now. This is our youngest poet on board with Angora, and that's little Miss Cosmic here, attended by her mother. So Cosmic, when you want to read for us now, can you read? Okay, let me hear your voice. Pick up your voice now.
Okay.
A little louder, a little louder.
Hello?
That,
Can you hear
yeah,
We can hear you.
yes. Okay. Ready to go when you are.
Mars rock. Mars rock. When liquid is squirting through, there's always a
you of such matter?
there's always a ladder looking through space.
Looking on your good and bad vibes. Look around you. Is there only one Mars rock? There is a lock to close, and there's a love to open it. Mars rock, when liquid is squirting through, there's always a queue of such matter.
Okay, I take it that's the end, yes?
And can I tell you where I got the idea of the title and the poem?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, I got it from this rock. I got it from a rock which had some liquid in the middle, and it was quite special, and it looked like Mars. It was red as well.
Okay. Okay, that's cool. Now, I think we heard that you have another poem in French.
Yes.
Well,
Tu es prête? Sens?
Ouais.
Sens? Ok. Allez. Just for the... Vas-y. Alors, 1, 2, 3, vas-y. Café Nero. C'est magnifique. Ah, les cafés, c'est magnifique. On parle beaucoup. Tout va très vite. Tôt le matin, tard le soir. Et on recommence. On peut trouver le choix de son café. Ah, le caféine, le Starbucks, le café Costa est plein de août. Oh, jeune à tout bout, j'ai détenu l'énergie suprême.
all right. Work it out, Cosmic. All right.
Oh,
Okay. Yes.
Was that an ode to coffee poem? Cafe?
Coffee, Starbucks, Costa, independent. And I drank too much. And she's got, and I'm so energized that I had to go for more. And I hold the energy in my hands.
I think it's a metaphor. But
Yeah, it's a metaphor.
Okay.
she got there. She's really...
Yeah, I think we were getting the picture, that's for sure. I was just surprised that a girl that young would be so much into cafe consciousness. That's a, are you part French, darling? Is that it?
Yeah. My father drinks not so much, but let's say a lot of cups of coffee.
C'est quand même bien français, le bistrot, le café express.
Okay. Okay, now we do like to ask for three if you have a third. Do you have a third?
I think she, vas-y, explique. Tu veux dire?
Yes.
Okay, something in English she likes to read. You just mark one, Alice.
Yeah, but this
nice.
is...
Put the camera back on. No, no problem.
Okay.
So from where?
Come in whenever you want. I'll switch it off.
I'm doing one called Frozen Dream.
Okay.
It's from this book.
Shed. From Shed.
No, from
The poem. The poem.
It's from the book A Light in the Attic.
Okay.
And, yeah. And
Shel Silverstein.
Cyril's turn. So this is called Frozen Dream. I'll take the dream I had last night and put it in my freezer. So someday, long and far away, when I am old grey geezer, I'll take it out and thaw it out. This lovely dream I've frozen, and boil it up, and sit me down, and dip my old cold toes in. Thank you.
Well, all right. Thank you very much. And
Thank you, Cosmic. Thank you, Shel.
Shed.
and Cosmic, you're getting better in your recitation. So I hope that your participation here, if nothing else, besides your poetic insight, is giving you a better sense of how to present your work. That's very nice. Very good to see that. Okay, we'll be around for the second round, you two. And now I'd like to, well, let's say hi to David Leo. Hello, Leo. How are you?
Hey, mighty fine. Thanks. I'm so glad I could come.
Okay, good. Well, you've got a short haircut and a clean-shaven face. Did you find God?
I actually didn't shave today. I almost found him and then I forgot.
Okay. You got that.
You know how the human mind is.
Yeah, I'm used to seeing you in curly locks. That's what I mean. In nice curly
Yes.
locks. Yeah. Okay, good. We'll be
Thanks.
calling on you soon. All right.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
yeah. Okay. So hang in there, and let's hear now. Let's go. Let's move back over to New York, down Brooklyn way, and ask Prince A. McNally to present for us. Hello, Prince. Oh. You're muted. You know you're muted. You're still muted.
Hey, Prince, you're muted.
Thank you. I'm talking, running my mouth, and hey everybody.
Well, we like a poet who's ready to go. All right.
Okay. I'm gonna do a piece. This is more a prose piece, more kind of like flash fiction. It's called Cigarette Butts and Beer Cans. During the course of the day, she kept the room extremely dim, with the blinds closely drawn so she could see her shadow tormentors. She no longer slept in the king-size bed alongside her husband for one of their many ongoing quarrels. She would take up residence on the cream-colored couch with the deep brown trim directly in front of the window where she could watch undetected the goings-on of the outside world from the second-floor window of her railroad apartment located in Brooklyn's Bedford-Stuyvesant. Through slightly parted blinds, she watched the passers-by, often wondering where they were off to. Were they heading to school or work, or were they going home to be with their families? She often hoped one of those passers-by would be her grandson, Anthony, whose weekend visit she eagerly awaited, for he was the only true source of joy and light in her otherwise dark and desolate existence. Anthony loved his grandmother deeply, always showering her with love and affection. Theirs was a special bond in a difficult and as difficult as she could often be toward others, Anthony seemed to have a profound effect on her, and he could make her laugh like no one else. It was as if he possessed the key to her heart. In between battles with her demons, Anthony's weakened visage often provided her with precious moments of grace, for in his presence she could almost be herself again. It was as if the call of her demons appeared to wane, granting her those brief yet lucid moments of grace to spend solely with her grandson. During this time, she would often share stories of her childhood, of the happy times she spent with her beloved stepfather she affectionately called Papa, for he was the only father she'd ever known and the only man who ever truly loved and understood her. Out of all seven of her grandchildren, for some strange reason, Anthony by far was her favorite. Perhaps it was his calm and engaging demeanor which reminded her so much of her beloved Papa, how she enjoyed spending time with him, for aside from his weekend visits, all she had to look forward to was her people watching through slightly parted blinds, the battles with her ever-present demons, and of course there was her vices. She was a chain smoker who always loved her beer, Salem cigarettes, and Rheingold. Ever trapped in her ever trapped in her anal ways, she was always quite meticulous the way in which she arranged things. Everything had its place. Stacked beer cans inherently served as ashtrays where she routinely doused her smoldering cigarette butts along her pain along with her pain and frustrations, creating rows and rows of neatly aligned beer cans reminiscent of a makeshift cemetery with metal tombstones, where all her pain and anger lie buried, just inches away from the tan-colored couch with the deep brown trim, a sanctuary of which she rarely left unless she felt the need to cook, use the restroom, bathe, or run to the bank to deposit her Social Security and pension checks. A true creature of habit, even at the height of her dementia, she remained extremely rigid in her daily regimen as if she was subconsciously maintaining some level of dignity and control over her increasingly difficult and tormented life. Like all of us, she was forced to carry the glaring dichotomy of good and evil upon her weary little shoulders, desperately hanging on to God while defiantly giving the devil the middle finger. That's it.
Yes, yes, yes. While desperately holding up, to paraphrase, while desperately holding on to a small degree of self-esteem. Yeah, yeah. When you're losing it, yeah. Okay. Number two, Prince.
I thought that was pretty long.
No, that's okay.
I thought that.
We're good.
Okay.
I have permission. I know management. It's okay.
It's good to have it in with management. Okay, here's another piece. This is another flash fiction piece that I'm playing with. It's called Finally the Sunset. A little background on this. This is based on a Facebook friend of mine who was like, she was like my number one fan. She was always there, and all of a sudden I wasn't seeing her. She kind of just disappeared. And a mutual friend eventually informed me that she had passed away from cancer. And I happened to know that she had lost her husband maybe a year or two prior, and she was so deeply attached to him, and because she let me know this. And so upon hearing this, I wrote this piece for her. Her name was Doris, and the piece is called Finally the Sunset. Near the end of each day, she'd sit quietly staring out the window as the evening sun's fire slowly withered away. She marveled at the way it softly dissipated, how its smoky gray and coppery hue steadily fused into the sky blue horizon. As the imminent darkness eagerly foreshadowed the ever waning light, the woman sat solemnly upon her bed, counting the ever passing moments. And as the waning sunset slid slowly beneath the Australian horizon, Epiphany whispered, "This is your sunset, princess." Upon hearing such musical words, the woman began to smile, and just as suddenly she found herself sobbing uncontrollably, not because she was afraid, not because she wasn't prepared to leave, and certainly not out of any sense of sadness or regret. She was crying from a place of quiet grace and appreciation for all she's seen and for all her good fortune. She cried for her loving family and friends she'd be leaving behind to mourn her, her lovely children, her darling grandsons and granddaughters, and lastly she cried for all the previous sunsets that that had long eluded her, leaving her stranded in a world she no longer wished to be a part of. For the cancer that ravaged her body had stolen her desire to live. She now longed for the beautiful sunset which held the secret to where her beloved husband, the absolute love of her life, would be waiting for her. And as she wiped away her tears, her eyes suddenly lit up like stars, her face unleashing the brightest smile. For on this day, she was finally the sunset. In peace.
Well, that was a nice way for her to feel on the way out.
Yeah.
They say that last moment when you know you're going to go, you're in peace. So it is
Mm.
recorded. So it is recorded by people. Wow. Okay, do you have a third one for us, Prince? Three's a
Okay, I think I
charm,
can.
especially tonight with all this good news.
Okay, this piece is it's just been published by Jerry Jazz Musician. It's called "When the Saints Go Marching In."
Okay.
Oh, when the saints go marching in. Oh, when the saints go marching in. I wanna be in that number. Oh, when the saints go marching in. Despite the many trials and tribulations of Black folks here in America, as a means of survival, my people have learned to laugh and smile in the face of adversity. We have learned to weather our storms with such calming grace and a quiet resilience, more resilient than those broken levees that eventually gave way to the wind, pushing the ever rising tide of racism to the shores of Black lives that truly didn't matter to anyone. More resilient than the man-made storm slamming its treacherous winds against the Black landscape of Louisiana's poor. The Hurricane Katrina was an angry storm, a woman scorned who cried crocodile tears with flooding rains that suddenly came sweeping down upon my people like ethnic cleansing. Scores of Black bodies floating down canal streets, a watery grave, a water parade, a funeral procession. The fat ladies sing the blues for them amidst the thunderous sound of lightning ablaze with 10,000 trumpets ringing from the heavens, an eerie rendition of when the saints go marching in. Though the saints never came, the saints never came, because FEMA never came, FEMA never came, FEMA never came from the lowly ninth ward. New Orleans Black poor, rescue efforts pause. So many died when they didn't have to. but FEMA never came. FEMA never came. Humanity never came. In peace.
Okay, bravo. Yeah, that's how it went down, man.
Yeah, man.
That is how it went down. All right. Historical poetry. Yes. Okay, I would like to ask someone who came on a little while ago if she's going to present later, and that would be Karen. Hello, Karen, out there in Columbus.
Hello,
Did we get rid of,
everybody.
did we
No,
get rid of that city name yet, Columbus?
well, we don't want to be Flavor Town. Come on. The statues are coming down, but the name should stay. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, because everybody got the name right. Like, which city? Oh, yeah, we got a new name. Yeah, yeah.
Flavor Town.
Well,
No,
I'm
Mo, I'm just listening tonight. So,
okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, if you get an urge, if you get an impulse, we're here, you know.
Okay,
And,
thanks.
and one thing, I got to say a quick 2 cents on the statue stuff, which is I'm following it like everybody else. And in the beginning, I was very supportive of the idea. But now I'm starting to agree, you know, this is only an opinion, that the taking down of statues, which is happening so widespread, there are certain critics who are saying, where's national health care plan? Where's our second relief check? Where's funding in education? And I'm not, you know, like they're not trying to like rain on the parade of denouncing public displays. They're saying, okay, we get this. Now, with all your fervor, who's going to come forward and enact something we've all been wanting since the electoral season began?
Right.
Health care for starters.
There-
So we'll
there's
see how that
always-
works.
There's always the issue of smoke and mirrors. Whenever things get a little too hot over here, then we move to something over here to grab our attention and
That's it.
waylay us. So, yeah.
Right. That's it.
Sleight
Yeah.
of hand.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if someone would just follow this with a bill for national health care, it would sound so good. If they end up with this, well, okay, now we let you protest. We tolerated some looting. You know, we sent a whole lot of government agents in to get that going, and some other things. Now, are we done with this? Now, are we done? Can we just move on, everybody? We can have a,
you know what's surprising no more? Maybe it's not surprising. I'm not too excited about Biden, but that should have came out of his camp a long time ago, if you ask me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, he's going to tell you. He's going to tell you whether you're authentic enough. You know, Biden. He's liable to put it. Yeah, you know what I'm getting at. When he was with Charlemagne de God. How do I know I should vote for you? And then Biden said, I think everybody's heard this by now. How do I know I should vote for you? Like Charlemagne in a nice way on this podcast, okay? This well-known host on this podcast said, well, all right, Joe Biden, you've explained this and that. In a nice way, he said, you're dancing around what you want to do. So now tell us, you've told us who you are, now tell us why we should vote for you.
Got to put him to task.
What did he say?
You're not black if you don't vote for me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Wow.
That was brilliant.
Wow.
That's called figure it out for yourself.
Mm-mm-mm.
All right. Okay.
Talk about playing the black card,
Yeah.
the race card. Wow.
Why do the Democrats lose so much? Why?
Fucking idiots.
I gotta love that
Fucking
opposition
idiots.
party. And
Could they play on assumption? They assume you're automatically going to get the black vote. You're going to get this vote, but they automatically assume the black vote. That's just that's just.
Yeah, that's the rock and the hard place. It is. Yeah.
It is.
All right. So okay. So now let's move over to I think something that's going to be of a different kind of theme. Well, hello, Dalila. We see you, honey. Waiting for you to break in with that vocals. Just keep jiggling the handle. Okay, but right now I'm going to take the opportunity to invite, move us back over to Paris and call on Mr. Jack Cooper, the other half of Poets Wear Prada. And turn it over to you, Jack. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, couple of things, or three things. I wanted to read an elegy that I wrote for Steve Dalashinsky since he came up in conversation. It's called For Steve and Yoko. Pugnacious was his port of call, Brooklyn in his wake, the little man with big ideas, a generous friend to those he could accept. His shoulders in a crowd made room for free expression, fame and exaltation he could ill afford. The mocker would be maker saved, suspended from a precipice. In perspective, love enlarges fact, transforms fate alone to something grand that can be shared and felt by more than one, and there stand, each to figures on a wedding cake with no official name, the peak beneath which death cannot reach, where memory receives its crown. So that's for Steve.
And I was still muted. I wanted to say thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, that's for Steve. That's for Steve and Yoko. And
okay, for Yuko. Okay. So number two then, Jack.
Steve and Yuko.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we were discussing earlier, Roxanne and I have recently been working on an anthology of Italian American writers. So I have a little piece which is obscurely Italian American. It goes, as I crossed Pearl Street yesterday, a maroon Chevrolet was traveling east under a nacreous but still bright sky, and a group of girls coming toward me from the opposite side. I had a foreglimpse of blonde, stringy hair, a tropical shirt, white pants puckered at the waist, and New York plates, an Italian boy, brown-haired and conventionally handsome, whose head was turning as he drove by. Annette, the Italian boy cried, Antony! Annette, in the middle of the street, staggered instinctively, a step or two in his direction. Her arms flew open. Anthony applied the brakes. What the fuck? She shouted. Are you doing here? Another voice swore, holy shit! There were confused sounds of delight. Anthony, meanwhile, had executed a U-turn and beached and changed direction. I continued on my way. When I last saw him, he was beaching the Chevrolet on the sidewalk. His head was framed in the open window, and the 5 or 6 girls who squealed as he coasted to a stop swarmed by the door. The opening of doors, whether with the thump of the handle from within or the pushing of buttons from without, is what the hay that's made while the sun shines. is all about.
Right. What the sun shines is all about. Okay. So can we have threes of charm, Jack?
Well, yes, we can, Mo.
Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that?
Something you said recently, you were telling me a story in which you were traveling from the Upper East Side into Central Park, and you came by the reservoir and you saw the joggers.
Yeah.
Kind of jogged my memory because I have a poem called "In the Clearing." Central Park at 5 o'clock, the cocktail hour, formerly an hour of repose. Look, turning in circles around the reservoir. Breathless go, 200 souls. Faces red and clad in blue, color of the stillborn heart. They do not stop to drink, for soon come showers. Better save the body first, before light and life depart. Indefatigable as sparrows chirping in the trees. City dwellers, are they all restless by degrees? Dante-esque, likewise sapphic. Humans impersonating midtown traffic. Octane and elbow grease do very well for figures captive on a carousel. Turn the wheel and feel terrific. Miraculous malaise, which busy feet dispels. Merry is the hour, mechanical are cares. Low, obedient, the jargoned way ensnares.
So good, Jack. Oh my God.
Good.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
good. Okay.
I'm wearing my running shoes, by the way.
Okay. Good. Real good. Okay. So how you coming along on your novel?
You talking about me? You talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, very well, actually. Very well.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
Maybe in the future you'll read some excerpts or
Oh,
whatever
yes,
it is.
I like that.
However you choose, you know. Okay. Okay,
Thank
so I want to take a minute to say hi to somebody that came on screen here, Damien. How you doing, Damien?
Hey Mo, thank you for the welcome. Yeah, doing okay. It's good to be back here.
Okay. We haven't seen you in a while.
Cool, thank you.
So where are you this? See, I got a feeling it's evening for you where you're at. Where are you tonight in the world?
Yeah, I'm at home in the north of England, so I am an hour behind Paris. So yeah, so it's just now. It's 9:15 in the evening here.
Okay, good enough. So we'll be calling you up then. Good. So you have something to present for us.
Yeah, I've got two that I've written in the last half hour for tonight. So
oh, nice.
And
Fresh
then I can
stuff.
look in the back catalogue if you need anything else.
Oh, that'll be great because we have 2 rounds. So you may want to resort to the back catalog as well.
Cool, will do.
That'll be cool. All right. So now, I'd like to switch this back over on the other side of the Atlantic for a minute and call up Leo, whose official name is David Leo Siwa, affectionately known to me as Leo. Hello, Leo.
Hello. Thank you so much, Mo. Sorry to be late. I'm going to read a couple of poems that Ariel Publishing just put out. I sent them 3 poems, and they published all 3. Whoa! Yeah. So this one is in their COVID-19 stories and poems section of Ariel's Dream magazine, and it's called Bleu. Cher bleu, red magnetic skywalker, and experienced Earth explorer, intrepid psychonaut. Passport lost, you assert no one can steal the passport to my spirit. Cool and warm blue, green, hazel globe that spins within your gaze, planet garlanded by beaded lights. Our indigo eyes, one wide twilight. We grow fresh stars, water them with wild and whirling, wakeful words in broad magnetic skies. May this letter, leaf of gentle silver maple, float across Wolastoq, the St. John Rivers, breed. Sorry, I wanted to make it musical and I flubbed. May this letter, whoa, Dave. May this letter, leaf of gentle silver maple, float across Wolastoq, the St. John River's braided waters curled around rock, and hum Om Mani Padme Hum into your dream song solitude, crowned with laughter of light and dark dusk birds. Across the waters I can feel the slow exhale of your long delayed sleep. Your senses drop into the deep as you hold and release gold and scarlet leaves, petite ballerina feet pressed against silk silence. Sunday midnight drizzle sprinkles its mantra onto all plants' thirst. Addiction to the notion of your tender end of October caress. Pure desire. I attempt to navigate, sublimate into art, yet fail to keep out of this poem. Cher bleu, fearless forest traveler. In one dream you turned a pursuer into a furtive barn owl in flight. He'd fitted your wrists with handcuffs which fell fast from your contact improv hands. In that same dream, I glimpsed with direct eyes a vision of your Caffe Lotus Bleu expanded into a garden haven which led into a sea of trees, your secret Eden, surrendered to all who seek warm wisdom, cupped in green ceramics, steeped in deep contentment. At the heart of the forest, a sugar maple's roots planted quiet in the night. From its branches hung countless keys, gold and silver openers of inner doors. It has never been forbidden to touch and take from the tree of keys. In my spirit, I plant a cutting of greenest longing. We allow all leaves to fall, gravity of the fragile friction of our forms, fiction of separation, and laugh naturally, not the cynic's sharp metallic laughter serrated with the sound of hidden pain. We turn time's pennies over twice before we spend them on the next rich second. Cher bleu, belle amie, bien-aimée, on the cusp of sleep, a brief dream flashes past my heart's eye. I ask the humble prince of selfless service, Hanuman, please lead me where I need to be. He points to pale blue fabric as it falls off a rough-hewn sign. One hand-painted word, bleu.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm a blue freak. You know, I got I got totally mesmerized many years ago when there was a brief moment for the movement in painting cobalt blue. And
Yes.
and I liked blue because it was kind of sentimental and traditional in ways to like blue. And then I was staring at a cobalt blue image in New York. And man, when I came out of that stare, that fixation, I went like, Blue is deep. Blue is deep, and then
Yeah, and cobalt blue is my favorite color, the color of the twilight, when it reaches that crepuscule of a new night. Thank
The
you,
bridge
Maurice.
between two worlds.
Yeah, that moment of transition. My book ends with "We are always in transition." So this is to the plant stranded on the fire escape. I apologize. I've never come out onto the sparse metal bars to water you. But rain arrives as scheduled every Tuesday and Saturday, and you persist in the light. I've seen you die twice, no less, becoming nothing but gnarled brown branch from my complacent kitchen window. Now, miniature flowers surprise my eyes, off-white, a second wedding. Something in you subsists on whatever you are given, while I obsess on what I want to get. Please stay alive, as I will try, student of your persistent spirit. According to the teacher, some simply called the mother, the flowers are very psychic, which they express through beauty and silence. Thank you.
And nice and nice and nice. Okay, how about what we call three's a charm, Leo? Give us
I
number
love to.
three.
I love your tradition of that. It's very generous. Okay, this is called Blessed Gift. I talk too much with the living, but with ghosts, I simply listen. The world may think I am out of my mind, but one taste of this freedom, one moment beyond the cacophony of thought, will sweetly silence anyone who knows what wonders can be heard. Wild birds wing honeyed song through open windows, and our beloved departed still whisper wise, warm words in the quiet heart of night. Ghost, dear soul whose name I don't yet know, my mind is mute, mystic windows wide open, and my hands rest together, one upon another, palms facing upward, respectful gesture to receive a blessed gift. If you wish to speak, ghost, I will simply listen. David, calmly face the fire that consumes your entire spine. Let your brow bow toward the golden column of light that rises from the base of the spine to the crown of the head. Kundalini is her Sanskrit name, but see her as the power that directs the divine machine of every planet in orbit, all beings that breathe, and the still life of the supposedly solid world. She is the primordial guru of all great gurus. She is the God of God. It is an honor to carry her within us wherever we walk. May it make you humbler than humility itself, to glimpse the inner kingdom we all hold within. The true root of this universe spreads her luminous shoots throughout our warm human forms, expresses herself as our characters, like you, troubadour, seen as a foreigner on any corner of earth. The sound appears as countless voices in her powerful play, characters seen and unseen. Could you at least pretend to attend this concert? Summon up the strength to surrender. The hardest road is the one that leads to here, where we continually arrive. Remember your co-worker, fellow singer and seeker of the truth, who could see your dreamy disconnect from the world around you. He threw a broom toward you from 3 meters away, javelin that hurtled toward your sternum, and in that split second yelled, "Be awake!" With both hands together, facing each other, palms open, you caught that blessed gift. Thanks.
And the master. All right. Okay, Leo. Good to have you back. Okay. Okay. So now I'd like to move from the northeast lane of the Atlantic to the northeast lane of the Atlantic over here to Damien. Hi, Damien.
How you doing, Mo?
Okay.
Everybody. Okay. I got a bit of a short one to start here.
Okay.
I just. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you all hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I just scribbled this one about 20 minutes ago. Getting up, showing up, blowing up, not throwing up, climbing down from a high ghost town and moving on from the same old song, changing up the people, the places and things. Variety in life is when the soul sings. I'm a man of the world with a heart full of love. New experiences in life, there's never enough. Change is the only permanent thing right now. Staying the same can be painful and makes me say, ow.
All right. That's it.
It's that one there.
Go with that. Yeah.
And I just kind of finished scribbling this one. It's over about 3 different pieces of paper. Okay. They say the things you own end up owning you. I own my heart, and it happens to be true. The memories, the moments, the intangible stuff, the trinkets, photos, the phone bills from 3 years ago, and the electric bill from 2009 that was definitely paid. There's a printed out receipt stapled to it. There's 10 pairs, no, maybe 11 pairs of sneakers. They're on light rotation. There's the view from my rear window, nowhere near as sinister or exciting as Hitchcock's. There's the gadgets, the obsolete gadgets, the old birthday cards, the plants, because they said, don't get into another relationship. See if you can take care of a plant first. I got a mini cactus. I water it 3 or 4 times a year. There's the Swedish ivy. I took care of them. There's the old toys, the fitness equipment, the books, the board games, the clothes, which shed seasonally and renew in a deciduous fashion. There's the paintings, the affirmations, the picture frames with my certificates in, the products, the health products, the furniture, the food. I am none of these things. I detach from these things, but the people in my life, so beautiful. The pieces of the puzzle. There is no ownership, just love and support and understanding. Sometimes hate and misunderstanding. The nature of adventure keeps going on. Something like that.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah. You have a third one? You have 3's a
I
charm
do.
first.
I'm going back into the back catalogue now.
Yeah.
I'll give you a bit of a background to this one. I was in Florence and staying this when I was traveling in my younger days in a hostel, and I briefly met a Parisian lady there, a Parisian young lady, and we had a bit of a time together. Okay, so I called this le premier sonnet pour un Parisien. To sit and consider the living we do, decisions in contemplation, translated into procrastination, mistakenly using the formal vous, remedied by a nice use of tu, the tranquility of meditation, or the speed of a Proust interpretation, the joy of a Florentine rendezvous, the gentle touch of soft rain, the sharing of time and food, living just within the day, a yearning to walk by the Seine, a film that is yet to be viewed, with a kiss in the Champs-Élysées. So that's what I got right now.
All right. Did she ever get to read that part? Did you send that to your
I
Parisian?
sent it to her. Yeah, she got that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, thanks. Now
Great.
I want to ask Mo, are you with us still, Mo? I want to
Yes,
ask Mo.
sir.
Hey, yes, sir. Do you have something to present to us, Mo?
All right, I got one.
Only one?
Yeah, just one. One is the charm, not a charm.
Uh-oh. Okay.
All right. Okay,
We're all
let's see.
ears.
Let me just dig it up real quick. Got some documents to go through. 1 second. I've been listening to everybody. This has been amazing. 1 second. 1 second. All right, that's more than 1 second, but okay. This one's called Hurricane. This is unrequited love. No crumbs, trails, or hints that can be tracked back to wishful thinking. It was hard enough longing for you while knowing that the doors were open, knowing that living the dream was easier than going to sleep with the thought of you, knowing that there was no chance, no gamble, only destiny dressed for symbiosis, a piano tuned to serenade so well we could toss music theory outside the window. There is nothing louder than the unspoken truth when it is heard. I remember those eyes looking at me, like the reflection I always thought myself unworthy of. I hadn't asked your name yet, but I know I was comfortable dying there because it felt like the sweet end of a lifetime I had always wanted. Hurricane, you are all the wishes I would have made had I believed in the audience of the stars, but I worship one greater than the loneliness I made you leave at my bedside, and let me tell you, it has not been an easy prayer. Hurricane, you will hear me say that I love you without mourning what could have been, even if the world had once made us believe that such love could not exist. I will say this, for a time, it would have been easier if I had opted to simply walk on water. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Walk on
Now,
water. Yeah.
you better get out your speedos. Hey, tell me something. Did this woman receive this verse? The
No,
woman you've read?
no, she did not.
Okay.
This is just, in fact, this is a very, very new piece. I wrote it only like 4 or 5 days ago. So I dedicated, like, it's an unrequited love that has been with me for like 5 years. And, I sat down like, just get it out of your system already. And that's what I wrote.
Yeah, that's cool. And you finally get it out of your system. Last week, the woman character in my song that I've read here called Blue Bonnet Girl, if you recall, she showed up on in the Zoom room last week, and I read it to her. And I haven't not seen her in 6 years.
Wow.
So I feel you on that. And now we're chatting daily. Ha ha ha. It's always hot when they're 1,000 miles away. She's in Texas. Yeehaw. Okay.
I just would question whether unrequited love you ever quite get it out of your system.
Yeah. As a friend of mine always puts it, first the glass is full, then it's left half empty. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Undrunk.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it turns to vinegar.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but then, Bill, it's got to be wine to begin with.
Or at least we think so.
One self-serving trait about love, its various impacts, is that when I've decided I'm out of love with somebody, then I'm well managed about it in my psyche. Well, that was nice, and it had to end. And of course, the great contradiction is, on the other hand, when someone that I really cared for left me, it's like, I don't say, oh, that was nice. She decided it was over. Hell no. She'll get a poem on this one. She just earned a poem on this one. If it wasn't for these women, and I suppose men too, if it wasn't for these women walking out of our lives and they've got us on tenterhooks, some of our best work would never manifest.
That is true.
That
is true.
So I always think about it like, in this situation I'm in, am I bragging or complaining?
Yeah,
all
Mo, I
right.
wrote some apology poems for an ex that I dated in college some years back, and I was expecting her to address what I said in the poem, since I was, admitting to this and that, and she just said good stuff, and that was it. I'm like, wow, that's it? Okay, let's move on then.
Yeah. Does everybody know the song "Glad to Be Unhappy"?
No, not me.
Yeah. Billie Holiday, for one, covers it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
An exceptional lyric in it that unrequited love's a drag, and I've got it pretty bad. But for someone you adore, it's a pleasure to be sad.
Who was it that blues rock band that did a cover of it? Remember that, Jack?
I'm not sure. No.
Can't remember which one. One of the two that when they talk about big bands, this is what they will remember.
Okay. Oh, you mean like Chicago or Blood, Sweat, and Tears, or one of those bands?
Maybe Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yeah. Blood, Sweat, and Tears was great when they had Al Cooper.
Yeah.
Was the principal.
Yeah. All right. I think I'm the last one on this round. And so I'm going to try to stay in the mode that I've heard. And yeah. So I'm going to switch over here. Okay. Here's a nice, lovely piece for Valentine's Day. It's called Dead Dog. I walk the dog. He shits at a phone booth. I step up. I call anyway. You are angry, always angry. I try to talk. Sunday, words mean little. And on Monday, it's an old song. It's hard. It's hard to come by. And you tell me my time has run out. A voice from nowhere says, deposit 50 cents. And I ain't got it. A bus screeches to a halt. A shrill yelp passes through me. Dog dying in the street. I let the phone fall. The tally, 3 off the lash. A chain is broken. Yeah, that's it. Now here's another one. You made me recall, since we talked about Steve tonight. I wrote this for him after he died, and it goes, you tap the blue note, baby. Blue, not like pain, you're over that. Not like sorrow, leave that to us. No more dollar down, dollar a month, buy my book. You dirty schmuck, you paid with prime interest. The joke's on you. Not today, not lonesome, where you are in that sphere of cosmic cacophony, where words spill like bubbles in the mystic air. I see you smile when I said, hey, Steve, jazz is a way in here, a way out. And you said, now, now, now that you're there, can't you tell me more and more and more of what's about? And I said, hey, babe, you took it in the gut. Who knows? It could have been me. You're blue to transparent cobalt. seeing through to the other side. And hey, babe, I hear it's an effortless fit, like golden slippers you walk through beyond to that hall of fame. It's so way out, it's so way, way out and long, long gone. Because, well, it seems all black here and so far gone. It's so out there. It's out. We always wanted to go out beyond that 8-bar line, beyond the count, beyond the last metaphor, beyond the last metaphor. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
But I can't. Okay, I can't see you, but I hope you like that because I'm reading it off another screen, and so now I'm going to finish with this piece here. Let's see, where is it here? Okay. Now here's a prose piece because, like I say, I've been warming up to do a podcast. I've been going back to writing op-ed pieces, and so that's what I've been doing. So okay, and it goes like this. French society has reopened. So, what have we learned from 3 months of enforced seclusion vis-a-vis the pandemic, followed by the epidemic of police and vigilante murders, igniting widespread rage and condemnation throughout the planet? And what about domestic violence raged upon women and children? And what about the overcorrection of cancel culture, banning great works of literature, stage and screen, because the authors wrote it down, motivated to exposing injustice, writing in the language used by those who dished it out? What is disturbing, myopic, hammered down by the gatekeepers, the thought police, now dictates our present period of awareness without need for ongoing critical analysis, banned from inconvenient truths. Authoritarians in many quarters aping the mindsets of bygone tyrants, thinking it's all so fresh. The platform marshals, eyes of the bailiffs, the bouncers, while the well-intentioned are sequestered to exclusionist pockets, wondering, where have all my friends gone? Critics mislabel you as Marxists. Well, first off, most of you don't read enough to know what Marx espoused. Secondly, far from Marxism, you're simply issuing knee-jerk aberrants akin to Stalin. You've failed in the lessons you never learned from the Salem witch trials and McCarthyism. Poet I am now in league with the stand-up comics. Bruce, Carlin, Pryor, Hicks, Chappelle, Burr, Silverman, Rogan, who rather than bowing to puritanical censorship, poke gaping holes through this hypocrisy. And by doing so, allowing us to breathe, to relieve psychic constipation, to laugh at the follies passed off, because what underlies this is bittersweet. And baby, the joke's on me. The joke's on you. Breaking news is broken. Breaking news will break you. Here, we laugh with each other, not at each other. Our governors and approved talking heads prescribe change by moderation, as if we've had not enough moderation, as the privileged and pathological wreck the planet and societies. Their measures in practice are anything but moderate, as illustrated by the redistribution of the wealth to the super rich, the degradation of Mother Climate, the world as a stage for their wars, national occupation by militarized police, and lest we ever forget the unjust incarceration of hundreds of thousands among us. The illusion of rescue measures inserted by 20th century dinosaurs and legions of misled younger shallow-minded. Good God, people, life is short, and so am I.
Hey, good job, Mo.
Thank you so much, Ron.
But did I get a cookie? Can I earn my cookie for attending on that one? Yeah, I'm ready to set him up because I'm going to start. I used to broadcast, so now I'm going to podcast because that's how you broadcast these days. And then I'm warming up for it. Okay, so I see a new name in the square here, and that's Claire. Hello, Claire.
Hey everyone, how are you?
Hey, we're good. Say hi to Claire, everybody. Hi, Claire.
Hey.
Hi, Claire.
Hello.
Hi, Claire. So, what did you come to present something tonight, Claire?
Yes.
Yes. Well, yes is good enough. Why don't you present something for us?
Okay, I'm gonna do it now. That's
Yeah.
something I wrote after going to an event that I really liked, a place where people sang and said poetry. But from this scene, I imagined something because I saw something happening between two people, and from that scene, I wanted to imagine what happened. So that's what I wrote, and it's called Another Time. When I entered the room, I saw strong souls surrounding me with warmth and confidence. It was a little bit like entering the grown-ups' court and feeling your feet anchored in the ground. Your feet under the ground and your face in the sky. There was a deep light in the gallery, something that made me feel like swimming in hot water. A man at the guitar welcomed me warmly, and everybody was talking, preparing for the event of that night. After observing the different groups drinking alcohol and laughing heartily, one man in particular retained my attention. He was young, with gleaming eyes. He was discreet, but it seemed to me that he was the only one to really listen and see the things that escaped others. From the other end of the room, I could feel his intelligence. It was radiating all around him like an ocean of invisible stars. Is he gonna perform? I wondered. Or will he only be looking at things without speaking? His gaze seemed to take possession of the whole space, and each of his movements was gracious and unique, as though he perfectly knew how to behave in such circumstances. I tried to listen to the poet speaking, but I couldn't stop myself watching the stranger's most particular gaze, as though he was looking for something. After a while, I could see what those shiny eyes were looking for. It was a girl, and not any girl. He seemed to know exactly how to find her. The girl then appeared suddenly among the crowd. Her smile was so striking that it seemed to precede her on her coming towards the stranger, who blushed presently. She was recognizable from a distance because of her pink dress, which looked orange in the sunset, and because of the light shadows of the other people and their figures. A few minutes passed, and the man seemed to be hesitating. He made one step through the crowd, but his heart beat too loud. It was like having a rock stuck in your chest, or a pétanque ball bouncing up and down irregularly instead of your heart. His breath was uncertain too, and he had the impression of not being there, not feeling his own presence because of this coat of fear that covered him at every occasion he had to mingle in the crowd. He felt both painfully alive and completely absent, didn't really know how to describe this feeling, and vacillated between overwhelming existence and nothingness. Maybe that was a normal paradox, he reflected. Maybe that was really what it felt like to be alive, like you need to die a little. He couldn't do it. Another time, another place, he thought. And when the woman could have seen him and turned to look at him, he was already gone, his back turned to her. That was all she could see. Maybe another time, maybe another place, she thought. And our hero, all dressed in black, disappeared slowly against the horizon of dusk, a mix of light and darkness that perfectly represented his joyful hopelessness, that represented the never-ending existence of a light he could not reach.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it.
Okay. We just want to say thank you. Yeah. Okay. If you have another one, you're welcome to present it.
Yeah, I have another one,
Good.
and I just have to find it.
Okay.
It's called The Shadows of My Mind. I'm sitting on a bench. My mind wanders, hesitates between girlhood and womanhood. The noises of the street invade the air, which is filled with wonder. As the sun colors the earth in patches, my spotted mind fixes an image. It shows bright shadows of blackness. It shows the gentle movement from one moment to the other. The leaves of my thought like stains against the sun. Eternity of time, they still remain, like reversed clouds, reflecting. They move in melancholy.